inspired work from Cobalt Press. So welcome, and so glad to have you here. As you can see, we've kind of played the player shuffle again. Jim is out doing some on-appearance stuff, so yeah, he's a busy man. Kind of didn't think he was going to be here. And Noam, unfortunately, again, will not be here. He's got some other stuff going on, so hopefully next week we'll get to see his lovely face. But tonight we do have other wonderful players with us, so I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to start going around, so introduce yourselves. Tell us where we can find you and who you will be playing tonight. And I am going to change it up a little bit and start with Maurice.
So my name is Jesse. I can be found on Twitter as @JesseNeon. I'm playing Maurice, a polytheist priest cleric of the Gearborn persuasion. Mechanical man who loves all the gods.
Yes, a metal man. See, I need to bring you on around just for that. Lovely. And now we have Kai.
Hey, I'm Stonefly_Kai, and I'm playing a Winterfolk halfling sword dancer. I don't know, that feels like such a hand or a mouthful to say.
Information.
All those words.
What's her name? Her lovely name?
Zira.
Yeah, yes. All right, wonderful.
Yeah.
And moving up, we're going to Torn Pixie.
Hello, I'm Torn Pixie, and you can find me at Torn Pixie Twitch just about anywhere. And I'm going to be playing AOL Galith, the Light Eater Warlock Shadow Fae.
Lovely. And finally wrapping it up for introductions, we have Michael.
Hi, my name is Michael Sinclair II. You can find me on social media at Michael Crits and at Instagram at the same name, Michael Crits. And today I'll be playing Gervain. He is a fighter that's a ghost knight, and he's a human that is the Career for Wanderer variant from Cobalt Press.
Excellent. So we had a very interesting week last week. We had a little bit of backstory dabbling as well as some leveling up. So we got to see some cool things with Slain gaining his new talents as well as Gervain getting his new companion, which was really his old companion, Little Czar. So that's going to be a lot of fun to play out and play around with. And we finally had them having a lovely encounter with a Goliath Daddy Longlegs, essentially. And we moved it into going over and through the woods, up and over, and finally to the lovely Grove of Eternal Autumn, which is where their escort Kel has been trying to get them to since leaving Old Chick Village. I'm going to sum this up because, with only 3 players last week, it's one of those things where it got a little tricky. But we did get to see some lovely advancements and some really cool interactions. And we basically left it where we have Shreg and Zira riding on the back of Little Czar in Gervain's hopes to get them more comfortable with this new companion, because when they first made their appearance with Slain and Gervain on Little Czar's back, they pretty much terrified the 2 small ones who went tearing into the woods out of absolute fear that this thing was coming to attack them. We also have our metal man Maurice. He found himself completely rusted up and unable to move, and because of his, heft and weight, they decided to pop him into Cal's bag of holding. Because Gearforged, they don't have to breathe. It's a thing. So right now, Maurice is kind of in the bag, in Cal's bag, and we have Gervain and Slain walking along with Cal and AOL as they've just entered the longhouse of the Clan Cornelian in the Grove of Eternal Autumn. And pretty much we had the doors swing open, the whole community is gathered, and you can see the chieftain and the priestess up at the very front area, and Cal has made the announcement that he has returned and he has the party with him. And so this is where we are starting our evening, with all of you basically looking into this longhouse. And you can tell this has been there for quite a while. It's got some ancient carvings all along the upper areas of the ceiling, and it's got a steeply peaked ceiling, and you have exposed wood beams, and each of the wood beams has this intricate detail work of almost looks like these interlocking vines and leaves twining themselves together. The wood itself at the peak of the ceiling, it has a more muted aged look. A lot of it is because of this open fire that is in the center, and then there's this opening at the top to pull the smoke out of the longhouse. And to the side, you'll see that there are some doors. You can tell that there are some smaller rooms off to the sides here and there. And immediately to your left, you would notice that there is this very small hallway with 3 sets of antlers that have sort of been hung up And it's almost one of those things where if you hadn't have just turned your head or looked around trying to take everything in, you probably wouldn't have noticed it. But because of where you're standing, it's definitely something you would have realized because you're looking to your left and your right, and you're taking everything in and trying to figure out what's going on with this clan. And as you're looking, you have all these eyes looking back at you, and they're all Elseed. So you have these figures of elf-like upper bodies and deer-like lower bodies. Everyone has antlers of various sizes, various points, various colorations and details. And they all kind of just sort of quietly wait as this announcement's just been made. In fact, you could probably hear an ant sneeze. It has become so quiet. But you are able to see at the very head these two figures. One is of this rather imposing Elseed male. He stands there with a antler set of 12 points, so someone who's definitely been there for a while, very much established, very much of age. He has this dark hair with shoots of silver going through it, and he's clean cut, very angular face, but these very deep brown wise eyes are penetrating as they look towards you, as if they're almost reading your soul. You can see that they're taking everything in about you possible. And feature-wise, muscular form, you can tell this person must be a fighter. And he stands there with confidence. He stands there with assurance. And next to him is a female form. And she is also long, dark mahogany hair. And she's got these cornflower blue eyes. And her antlers are actually this dove gray color, which reflect the dove gray coloring of her lower body. And she too is taking you in, but you notice that her features are very pale. And she too has angular features that are a little bit more sunken in. It's not so much that she's angular because of those are her features, it's more she doesn't look as she possibly could. Both of them also have the tattooings that seem to be something the whole tribe have, these henna-like tribal tattoos that go across the arms, down the torso. Some even have some going across their foreheads and things like that, but it's always this henna red tattoo coloration. And she's sitting there with the same thing, but hers almost seems slightly paler. And she isn't really standing so much as she's sort of resting next to this other figure at the front of the longhouse. And Cal is basically standing there, and he turns to all of you. As you can see, they have been waiting. They were expecting you. That is Finium, and he points to the gentleman. And that is Gypsophilia, and he points to the woman. What would you like to do?
Am I still in the bag?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are still very much in the bag. So we have Zira. You're still on top of Little Zark. Gervain, you are standing next to Slain. And AOL, you are still standing next to Cal. And you have Shreg sitting behind you, Zira.
Zira, you're...
There we go. Sorry. I had myself muted in 3 different spots. I think I want to get off of the bobcat and kind of walk further up, bow, and say it's an honor to be here.
And you'll see the gentleman, Finium. He nods his head, and it's this graceful sweep as his antlers tip forward too, and it's not this menacing, threatening, showing his antlers to you. We have been waiting for your arrival. I have heard that you and your companions have quite a talent that may be of great use to us. I appreciate your coming, especially under such short notice. I am Finium. I am the chieftain of this clan, and welcome. Who might you be?
I am Zira, and these are my companions. And I'm going to notice that Maurice isn't out at that point, and run over and get him out of the bag however I can.
Okay, so as you're introducing your
is he in there because they don't like him?
No, he's in there because he got completely rusted over and couldn't move.
Oh. I'm still going to pull him out, yeah.
Okay, we might want to warn them first.
Oh,
if
you're
you
probably-
recall Cal's shock.
But you'll see the woman, she looks towards you. Is everything all right? I was told that there were 6 of you, and I only see the 5.
Well, you should explain.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. You will.
Well, they were saying who should explain on this one.
And you'll see her, she kind of tilts her head, and her antlers, again, they move gracefully with her, and she's just sort of patiently looking on. Did something happen to the other one?
Yes. Seems like the forest. He's been in contest with the forest. Seems to not like him. He's been rusting ever since we've gone through the Margreave forest. So, because he wasn't really operational, we decided to storm away because he was heavy and we couldn't move him. So, if you see him coming out, his name is Maurice if he can't talk. My name is Gervain. That bobcat right there, that's Little Czar.
He's not so little, but I know what it can be like when it seems like the forest is against you. And at this point, she starts to stand up, and you see Phineum offer his hand out and help her stand. And she starts walking down this sort of aisle down to where you're standing. And she has nothing but a look of concern on her face, and she's looking to Cal. So you're telling me that you have put this party member into the bag? Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. He doesn't need, he doesn't have the same needs that other living beings do, although we believe he's living. He doesn't need air like we all do, so we saw it fit to throw him inside the bag.
Perhaps it's best if you get him out then, just so we can properly introduce ourselves and perhaps help you out in the process. And she'll sort of motion to a few of the LC near her. Do you need their assistance getting him out? Or can you manage?
Let's see if we can. And Cal had him in his bag of holding, right?
Yeah, and Cal will sort of, again, like he did the first time around, he opens up the flap and he keeps it open wide. So you and Slane, if you wanted to, can just scoop Maurice up and out again.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Okay. So you pull out Maurice. Maurice, you've been in this bag, and while riding in this bag, you're still aware of everything that's been happening to you. It's just that this rust has pretty much taken over the good portion of your form where you're able to communicate, where you're able to move, and it's become this thick crust that's limited your mobility. You've been fully aware that your friends have put you in there for the sake of trying to get you somewhere where they can help you out. And you've kind of been sitting there taking in your lot in life, trying to think things through. It hasn't been entirely unpleasant. Cal seems to keep some rather nice weapons in there and, a couple of rations and things like that. But you see the light spilling in, and you see these sets of hands come in, and they start lifting and pulling you out. And you find yourself in this room with your companions around you. And there is this face of this elfin-like creature in front of you, yet she has these antlers on her head and the lower body of a deer from the looks of it. And she's just sort of head tilted, smiling at you, and she's kind of got her hand resting against her cheek, and she's looking rather quizzically at you. Yes, I can see what you mean. He very much has a rust issue, doesn't he?
Yeah. Is there any way, do your people possess any methods, skills, or arcane knowledge to maybe alleviate some of this rust for the time being?
Well, I think there are some things we can definitely do to start helping. And she'll walk up to you, Maurice, and she puts her hands on either side of your face, approximately where your mouth would be. And you feel this warmth emanating from her fingertips, and it spreads across your metal face. And those of you watching, you would see it's almost like this light blue energy is emitting from her hands. It actually matches the color of her eyes. And suddenly the rust just starts to flake away, and Maurice, you're actually able to finally communicate, which you have not been able to do for the past day and a half, as this rust falls away. I'm hoping that is somewhat better for you.
Significantly, thank you. Being unable to move, being imprisoned inside your own body is not exactly what you might call a enjoyable time.
No, it most definitely is not. I am Gypsophilia. You are
I
here
am
in our world.
Maurice.
Nice. Well met. And you see her sway a little bit. And as she sways, you can see a couple of other Alcide clansmen. They sort of stand up on the ready, almost as if to try and catch her should she fall. I'm afraid that is about all I can do for you now, but my daughter should be able to help you out as well. And she'll motion to a younger Alcide woman who very much looks like her mother, except she's got dark brown eyes, and her hair is fully dark, like very much like the chieftains, except it doesn't have the shots of silver through it. She will make sure that you have the assistance you need, but for now, I do want to make sure you all understand that you are here much to our need. And anything we can do for you, please let us know, for we do need your assistance. Things have gotten worse since you have left. And she looks over at Cal, and Cal just sort of nods his head. Yes, we saw that there was a creature who had come towards us, and our weapons were stuck in it. And you can see her sort of face drop. I was hoping that would not have found its way to you, but yes. There was an attack the other night from this strange creature, and we have not had our perimeters breached like this in ages. Did you all manage all right with it?
Yeah, we seem to be okay, and you're saying that this was the first time that some sort of outside unwanted being has been able to penetrate your boundaries?
Yes, it has been a while since we've had some sort of invasion of this sort where this creature just managed to come in without us even knowing. Normally, the Grove has a way of alerting us if something is wrong, but it has not been right in a long time since things first started going differently.
Do you know where things started being different? Like, has there been a source?
So far as we can tell, yes, we have managed to find an area where the damage seems to have started. And we'd be more than happy to take you there if you wanted to check it out. It is also close to where the attack had happened. So clearly something is weakening our forest, especially in this one zone. We are doing everything we can. I am doing everything I can as its priestess. But I can only do so much. And I fear it's starting to take its toll on me. The magic I just did on your friend is probably all I'll be able to do today. Which is not what I normally deal with.
What are you capable of for?
I have powers, I have abilities, but it seems the more magic I do, the less I'm able to do the day after. And the day after that. Something is sapping my energy like it is sapping the energy of the grove. And we don't know what it is, or how it even started. All we know is the when of it. About a month ago, this all started. We haven't even had a chance to do our spring celebration quite yet because we don't know if it's something we should pursue or be worried about. And as she's speaking, the chieftain, he actually starts coming towards you all, and he places a hand underneath one of her elbows to steady her because she has started to sway as she's speaking to you. This is something where we have tried to fix things on our own, very much like we always have. This is beyond our abilities, and it appears our control, considering what happened last night. You saw the creature yourself, did you not?
Yeah, we sure did.
We lucked out. There were injuries, but luckily no one lost to it. I have never seen anything like it before in my time here in the Grove, and my time here has been long. It took my best fighters to to drive it away. Did you manage to kill it?
Yes. Myself, Eowil, and Slain were able to fell the beast.
And you'll see him, he'll make eye contact with each of you hearing the names and just sort of, tip his head, and he actually puts a hand over his heart as he bows to you as a sign of respect. For that we are grateful. There was worry that it might return.
My only concern with babies like that is knowing how the smaller, regular-sized versions tend to come into existence. Is the potential possibility of more like that one?
Yes. That has become our concern as well. What else is now making its way into the grove? We are normally a very peaceful, quiet bunch. It's not often we go out to other areas. Yes, we will work with neighboring villages and trade with one another. But our existence is this grove. Our traditions are the grove. And now it seems the world outside is making its presence known in our grove, and the grove is not doing well as a result.
I don't think we should waste any time.
Wasn't that kind of the same thing that was going on at the last village?
Manner of speaking, I believe you're correct. More or less, things had always been a certain way. Something had come in and begun to change them.
And you'll see he kind of raises his head and almost steps back in shock. Things are not right at all, Chick.
No.
Things were unusual. But
We heard that
I suppose they were unusual to begin with.
He kind of has this wry smile on his face. Yes, that is unusual is a very good way of putting it.
The point is, it was unusual for them. What their normal is unusual for us is besides the point. Their normal was no longer there.
Which is what's happening here. That's very good to know. Yes, I think it's best that we sit down and we have a conversation. Let me clear out the room, get everyone back to doing what they need to do, and we can sit and we can discuss. And perhaps we can start coming up with some ideas of where to start and what to look at, if that sounds agreeable to you all. And you'll see he sort of just raises his hand, and it's just this quick flick of the wrist. And you see everyone just sort of, not that they're bowing, but they nod their heads in deferment, and very quietly you see these people, these Elseed, making their way out of the door that you came in. And some of them sort of, they'll make eye contact with you and nod their heads. Some of them will make eye contact with you and almost sneer, just this look of absolute disdain as they make their way out. But if they're being caught making this expression, very quickly that expression will fade back into a more neutral countenance as opposed to a menacing, not even menacing, but like a taunting one. And within a few minutes, the longhouse itself is emptied completely except for Finium and Gypsophilia, who are standing in front of you, as well as their daughter, who is standing in the far upper corner, but she is starting to make her way over. And you find that, in this common area, there are places to sit down, and there's sort of like lounges and things like that. And you see that Finium makes a point of getting Gypsophilia comfortable first, and he'll motion to all of you to sort of sit down. Maurice, you've been sat down by Slain and Gervain, and their daughter comes over, and she sort of just nods her head to you. If it is all right with you, I can start helping you a little bit more and get this off of you so you're more mobile.
Please, I would appreciate very much.
I'm Faye. if
I
that
am
helps.
Maurice. It is
Good to
good
meet you. Wonderful. And these large brown eyes just sort of take in everything going on with you. You just sort of hear her sort of tut-tut, like almost like a mother would to a child who'd gotten into like a little bit of a scrape. And she starts just little by little, and this is all while you're going to be talking with each other. She starts helping you with this rust issue, and it starts to sort of crumble and fade away as you're having your conversation. So you've all gotten comfortable, except for Slain and Shreg a little bit. Shreg seems still a little bit agitated. Slain has actually picked him up off of little Czar. I think maybe Slain and I, or maybe Shreg and I need to kind of, how about we go check out the perimeter, just make sure everything's safe while you have the conversation. Would hate for somebody to kind of sneak through while we're talking. It's not going to have us all in here and just kind of closed off from everything. And Shreg and I, we can go tall and swell. We'll go. We'll check out the perimeter. And Shreg kind of looks up.
Yeah, probably better just to kind of get out and kind of get the lay of the land, huh, buddy? I think it'd be better off, and you guys talk about the important things, and you can catch us up later. And
both of them are sort of moving back and forth, and you see Slain alley up Shreg into the back papoose that they have set up together, and you see Finium trying to fight this smile from this stoic expression he must normally have. I appreciate the offer. If you want to help with the perimeter, just follow where it stays golden. Otherwise, you'll be straying out of the grove itself. Well, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so stay golden. I got it. Yeah, we'll stay in the golden, and we'll be back. Not to worry, we'll be back. And Slain is backing out, and Shreg is, kind of waving goodbye over the shoulder, and the two of them quickly make their way out of the longhouse, and it's become quiet. And you can see that these three Alcides are looking at you almost expectantly to see if you have anything that you can help them out with, because, as it's been mentioned, they have tried everything, and at this point, they're up for any suggestion or any guidance you need to provide them. And Maurice, you at this point are starting to be able to move your arms, even though you're still sitting, and Faye is working on you.
I think our best bet is if we go look at the source of where this started. I think the best people to maybe look into it will probably be Maurice and Ewell, and me and Zira can maybe back them up, but I don't know of anything arcane or anything magical like this, and something that is changing your way of life. It's something that has been happening, like we said, in multiple areas. So maybe this will allow us to help other people going forward, or at least having some sort of solution.
On that note, actually, how many other villages, camps, what have you have in what you would consider a close proximity here?
There's really not that many. There is, Wolfchick's a little bit out of our normal traveling distance. We will keep in touch with them once or twice a year type of situation. There are two other villages who are close. They are further north of us. Every so often, one of our fellows will go further south if there is something we do eat and we cannot make of our own. But I have not heard of anything happening with their village, though I think it may be wise for us to send them a message to alert them to keep an eye out for anything new or strange. It sounds like something is going on with the forest itself, where it's affecting more than just right here. And that worries me.
That's kind of what I was thinking. What about other villages that are about as far out as Ulchik? The idea here is to see if maybe there are other places where this is already going on. And if that's the case, maybe find a center for what's happening. Because while there's a center for where it started here and a center for where it started in Ulchik, maybe there's another place where it actually started that's outside. grove.
That is a very wise idea. I will send out my best messengers and have them reach out to the villages we know of, at least that we interact with, and spread the word and see if we can find out any information. It will probably take a few days for them to get to and from,
Right.
but
Don't want to sit
No.
either.
no, it is definitely something we will work on today and make sure they get out immediately as soon as we are done with this.
Yeah, are you noticing? You said before that your people do trade with all these other villages. Have you noticed? I mean, maybe they didn't say something to you folks, via word of mouth, but have you noticed any dwindle in resources that you've been receiving via trade or anything of that matter?
To be honest, it's, well, and he'll look over to Gypsophilia, who's she's resting her hand, and it's not that she's massaging her temple, but it's almost like she's trying to keep herself awake. Normally, we will have an exchange during the springtime for others and the early fall for others. We have yet to have our springtime celebration, so it is hard to say if anything has happened with the others and what they would normally bring. For us, we have been lucky enough where this only just started, and we have been able to get our resources prepared and made. And for us, no, we don't have anything depleted as of yet. But this one section, as you'll see, I will go with you, as will Faye. We have noticed that it is getting slightly larger every day, which, if it gets to certain areas of the grove, then yes, we are going to have problems in terms of making food and making sure we have the resources that we need. And if others are falling into the same pattern, it worries me that others may be struggling should this persist and should this spread. I had not even thought that other places might be experiencing shifts out of the normalcy.
Well, I don't know. And I'll look over to the rest of the group. I don't know where you folks think we should start, but I'm thinking maybe we should start from where these people's most important resources, and then head towards the center of where they think the source might be. So at least we can tell how much longer they have until it becomes a real problem, and then investigate further from there.
That is fine by me. I have no problem showing you where our grove is, or where the sacred part of the grove is, I should say.
Are there any
And
customs
then-
we should be before going in there?
Hulda is a very understanding goddess. She is good to us. If you respect life, if you respect the people around you, you should be all right. Ours is a quiet, simple life. Ours is one that honors nature, and it shifts and it changes, which I know for this grove sounds unusual. But to keep what we have going, we do honor each and every season when it happens, so that we can keep this special gift of our grove as it is. We may not feel the shift of the seasons, but we do look to Hulda at each and every time it becomes winter, it becomes spring, it becomes summer, and it becomes fall. So we will show you. If you don't mind, I will show you the one spot, and then Finium and Faye can take you to where it all started, where we've noticed the change, if that is all right with all of you.
I think that is a good idea.
And again, she'll start to get up, and immediately you see that Faye and Finium, one on each side, sort of help lift her up, and her face blanches a little bit, and she's become even more pale. But her eyes still burn with this bright blue intensity, almost as if she's gathering what little strength she has left for the day, because she wants to be sure you see this particular part of the grove to better understand her people and their customs. And they'll walk out of the longhouse 3 across, and you can tell that this is a family walking in front of you. Finium is clearly Faye's father, as Gypsophilia is Faye's mother. And they walk out in front of you, and Gypsophilia will look over her shoulder. If you don't mind, you can just follow behind, and we'll show you the shrine and the gardens. And they walk out into the dappled sunlight. It's not that it's full sunshine at this point, because it's now later afternoon from the time you've been sitting in there and discussing. And they walk out, and they sort of take this turn from the longhouse, heading more towards the southerly side of things. And you'll see, as they're walking out, it's sort of this open field in terms of these golden grasses that are growing up, and it sweeps against their knees. So Zira, you probably have it sort of tickling your cheeks because of the height of this grass. And it's this beautiful, very pale gold, and you realize it's not quite wheat, but this must be something that they would harvest for things like maybe baskets or textiles of some sort of creation. And they get onto this path, as if they were cutting across. They get onto this little path, and it guides you down to this area where you see more of a cultivated field set up. So it looks almost like farmland. And there is, tucked in the back, as the forest sort of picks itself back up, tucked in the back, you see this almost outdoor temple, is the best way to describe it, tucked where the tree line is picked back up again. So it's these vibrant oranges and yellows and reds of the leaves canopied over this little shrine area, temple area. And then further in front of you, because of how you're walking southernly, you see there is this lake that's developed in the center of this grove, and it's being fed by fresh streams that have come down the mountainside and flowing into the grove itself. And you'll see that there's another grove that flows out towards the southwestern side of the area that you're standing. So they lead you to where the majority of this field is established, where you can see that there are crops that are growing. You can see that there are people out there working. You see a few of the LCs you had seen in the longhouse. You can see that they're checking on things. They're harvesting what's ready to harvest. And you'll see 3 other young women sort of walking around, and they're referring to them, and they're answering questions. And it's this very precise and almost as if they're doing this out of habit. This is something that they must do every single day, working together, tending to these fields, taking care of everything. And the 3 of them will stop, and Finium looks over his shoulder. This is basically where the main portion of our resources come from in terms of food, along with what our runners and our fighters and hunters will get for us out in the forest itself, and what the lake provides us in terms of fish.
Aywell, do you sense anything weird?
Not just off the bat, no. Outside the knowledge that it's not as it should be,
Do you think we should talk to one of the people who are overseeing this area? I mean, they'll have a closer relationship to the earth and the things that they grow, so they may have already start to see some changes, if not on a grand scale.
I think that's a good idea.
Have you noticed any change with the fish?
And you'll see Finium sort of pause for a second. Not that we have noticed yet, no. But I will make sure that the others are alerted to start keeping better accounts. To be sure.
Could be worth looking into, especially if it is some sort of magic curse. If it has affected the water, it could affect the fish, could affect the food, could affect the trees. Go through the entire ecosystem of your area. This
And you see
merely speculation.
You see his brow furrow in concern, and he's nodding his head. I very much agree with you. That is, forgive me, I do not wish to leave you, but between this, as well as the need to get runners out, if you'll excuse me, there are a few people I wish to speak with immediately. You're welcome to come with me if any of you feel it necessary. But I know that Faye and Gypsophilia can answer any questions you may have about our grounds and our harvest area. And he'll look to you to see if any of you want to go along with him to get any more information from his end of the deal or anything like that. Do any of you want to go with him? You'll what?
Respectfully bow.
Okay. And he nods his head to you. So you're all going to stay with Gypsophilia and Faye?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
AOL would go along with. The more info we can gather, the better.
Can you say that last part? I lost it too.
Said I think AOL would go with more info that can be gathered. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then you're going to stay with Gypsophilia and Faye? Or go with Finium?
Go with Finium.
Go with Finium. All right. So he'll wait for you to join him, and the two of you will walk off if no one else is going. So
Where is Maurice going? Are both the magic users going to the same place? Because I would stay near you guys.
Maurice wasn't going to follow unless it seemed like extra help or his assistance specifically was needed. So, I don't want to split the magic. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess we are splitting the magic users then.
Okay.
Oh, right. I think Gervain would probably stay out in the field area.
Okay. And Zero, would you stay with him too then?
Gervain, do you think one of us should go with each one of them?
Yeah, but I'm open. If you're feeling strong about being here in the field, then you can stay here with Maurice. And then I'll go with Eagle. However we want to do this.
Either ways.
Gervain, you see that Finium is watching the two of you have a discussion, and he's also looking the two of you over. Gervain, perhaps you should come with me. It appears that our friend Zira is well equipped, and he nods to the two swords that you have sheathed. You, Gervain, I may have something for you. That is, if you want to come along.
That makes everything a lot clearer.
And then I will get, I assume that he's in a hurry, and he is basically able to run faster than us. So I will get on to Little Czar, and I will gesture for Eowil to join me on Little Czar.
Sure.
We'll get on. All right.
Yeah.
So
forced to get
yes. Let's do a So Gervain, I'd like you to give me an athletics check with advantage because you've gotten more used to riding Little Czar. And AOL, just give me an athletics check straight up. No for advantage. Let's see how you two do. Gervain, how'd you do?
I'm pulling up my stat sheet because, I'm real silly like that. Athletics is going to be 19 total.
Okay.
7.
AOL? A 7. Okay. So, Finium will look over his shoulder and he sees that you're getting onto Little Czar and he nods his head. Yes, time is of the essence. And he will start cantering off, actually back up towards the Longhouse area. And the two of you start off, and Little Czar is quite nimble and ready for you, Gervain. You're actually able to keep your seat, no problem, but you do feel Aol sort of faltering behind you. And because you're aware this is her first time on Little Czar, you are able to basically grab an arm around and sort of steady her as she starts to slump off to the left side. So as the two of you are departing, the rest of the party sort of sees this elegant Alcide going off into the distance, and Gervain quickly catching Aol from sliding off. And it looks slightly precarious there, but you get yourself settled, and Little Czar quickly follows behind, and you basically fade into the visual distance, which leaves Maurice and Zira standing with Faye and Gypsophilia as you go on to those who are tending the fields, as well as you have that shrine up a little bit towards your left-hand side in the easterly side of the grove. And Gypsophilia will look at the two of you. Well, now that you are here, this is basically the house of our community. We all come out here to work on the fields to make sure everything is cared for and tended to as it should be. Because of the nature of the grove, we actually are able to grow all year round, which we understand is very special and rare. But as you mentioned with the fish, I think perhaps we should also keep tabs on what's going to happen with what is being produced as well, if this is something that is affecting growth and provisions. And over there is our shrine to Hulda. If you wish to take a closer look at that, we'd be happy to take you over there. Please, whatever it is you feel would be of use, let us know.
I would love to see this shrine, yes. I understand this place is maintained through some sort of magic. Magic that comes from your god, yes?
Yes, definitely it is something where we understand that we need to honor those with powers, because otherwise we would not be able to keep what it is we have for us. And the two of them will...
And you say that you are the High Priestess, yes?
Yes, I was brought to the position by the vote of the people, and those who came before me.
Your god, do they speak to you directly?
It is not so much that I hear words. It is more, there are ways of the grove showing me little signs, little hints. But you have to know what to look for, and you'll have to keep your eyes open for it. A blossoming flower may be insignificant to those who walk by it every day, but if you stop to pay attention to it, you realize that its petals want to share a message with you, that everything is going to be okay, or that maybe things are not looking as bright as they ought to. The forest has a way of communicating on its own.
What is the last real message you recall seeing from the forest?
The last message I saw were 3 leaves falling from one of the oldest trees in our grove, a tree that has held true and strong and sound until a month ago. A tree that has not once lost a leaf on its own, unless it was taken from it. It was that day I knew something had changed. Something was wrong. And it was that day I tried my best to use my own magic to help that tree, only to realize that I too was not as well as I had hoped.
And not to ask so many questions, but your own magic, would you describe it more along the spectrum of druidic, or shamanistic, or clerical?
You can see that she's starting to look a little pale, and Faye's actually going to stand in between the two of you, and I'd like you to give me a persuasion check. You're asking my mother many things, but as you can tell, she does not have the energy. Is it so important to know the exact source of our traditions, or?
So that's only going to be a 10 on that persuasion check.
Okay,
To
so
which respond verbally by saying, it's not exactly that I need to understand your traditions, but gods are gods. Magic is magic. At the end of the day, I'm merely looking to understand and see what type of power it is that maintains this place. If there is some sort of contagion, some sort of corruption within the magics, knowing what type of magic it is that fuels this all could help me understand what is happening and perhaps help me lead to an answer.
you'll see her dark brown eyes sort of flash with a quick intensity, and she'll lean in closer to you. As you can tell, my mother is not doing very well. The more she is out and about, the more she will use energy that I don't know if she still has. I will be more than happy to answer any questions you might have, but I do ask that you keep in mind, she is weakening. Her life as well as that of the Grove is just as important to all of us.
What connection does the High Priestess typically have to the Grove? I assume there must be some sort of intrinsic tie there, yes?
But of course, my mother went through intensive training, just like the other 3 maidens. There are always 4 maidens to train under the priestess. Ours is a life of servitude to the Grove, working with nature, working with Holda, making sure that we are acting as the conduits for our community. We learn the spells at a young age. We learn the traditions at a young age, the ceremonies, the songs. It intrinsically becomes a part of us. But only one of us will take over when the time comes.
Tell me, as a hypothetical, understand I wish no ill will to your mother, but were she to pass today, who is it that would take her place as High Priestess?
She's going to really not like this line of thought. I think perhaps instead of worrying about what ifs, best you take a look at the shrine and see if there's anything else you need. This is only going to get her worked up. And if you're really here to help, let's make things priorities first and not speculations of the what if things should go terribly wrong. Things are already going terribly wrong. She is doing what she can. We are doing what we can to support her.
Naturally. I forgive any offense I may have caused. It merely a side effect of being unused to her customs. The shrine is whereabouts?
She'll lift an arm and she'll point right to it. You can see it. It's in line of sight. And it's tucked further up a hill, so it overlooks the fields. You can tell that it's a higher point, so it's something where you could probably see a good portion of the open fields, the farm fields, as well as the longhouse itself. And there's a set of stone stairs that lead up to it and sort of naturally meander their way up and through the hill itself. It has moss growing on the stones, but instead of a lush green moss, it's actually this very rich, rusty red color, which for you, Maurice, gives you slight pause. Seeing something rust-like in front of you again. But you can tell that this is something that has definitely been established in the Grove for quite a long time. At least from the distance, you can tell this is an older build. It's not something that looks like it's just freshly been placed type of situation. But if you want to get more information, you would need to go closer up to it.
Sounds good. Would it be alright if my companion and I took a walk to the shrine alone? I have many more hypothetical questions I wish to ask, and I do not wish to cause more offense. It is best to just think aloud sometimes.
You will not be going to that shrine alone. Only the priestess, as well as the 4 maidens, are allowed close to it on their own. Visitors must be attended at all times. I can leave Mother here with the other maidens, but I will be going with you. And at that, the scene will fade as we pan over to Gervain and Aol racing alongside on Little Czar as Finium takes you back to the Longhouse. And along the way, he sort of signaled to a few people who have been walking by them, and you hear him shouting out a couple of orders as you're passing by, and you get into the Longhouse, and he will help Aol off Little Czar, and he'll nod to you, Gervain. But we need to make sure that everything is pulled together and ready for you. If you're going to help defend this grove, my concern is that you are properly equipped. So, same for you. We do have some things that may provide to be useful for you too. If you don't mind, please follow me. And he'll walk into the Longhouse again, and he actually veers off to the right-hand side, and it's this room that's sort of midway through. He opens this door, and it's a very thick, heavy wooden door. And again, there's this scroll work that's been engraved on the door itself, and it's intricate looping vines and leaves again. And you see sort of this crossing of spears that have been tangled up in these etchings or engravings of vines. And basically, he's opening the door into what would be sort of a weaponry room. So there are some weapons that are hung up on the walls. You can see there's some bookshelves with different items stashed up there. And he opens the door and he sort of holds it and ushers the two of you into this room. Now, I understand you want to be prepared. I completely respect it. So, for you especially, Gervain, I think there is something that you... And he's looking at the spear that you can put to better use. That's one of Cal's, isn't it?
Yeah, this was just a loaner from Cal. I'd lost mine originally from trying to take out a sea creature's or a river serpent. I don't remember, but
Valorx would be my guess.
yeah.
All right, then.
Can I look around to see what is in the army or what like armory or what like jumps out at me?
Yeah, sure. Give me a let's do investigation if you want to do a careful look.
Okay. Investigation. That's going to be a 12.
A 12. All right, so with that 12, you're looking around this room, and you can tell it is something that is well kept, well supplied. It doesn't look like anything really would be missing from its spot. There are axes that are hung up on the wall, and again, they look very similar to the axe that Slain had found in the creature the night before that he's sort of taken one of. Again, they're just basic spears, very much like the one Cal has loaned to you. There are bows. They look like they're made of an interesting wood, though, because they're not the deep golden browns that you normally see. This wood is actually almost a pale white with some black flecking through it. And they all have that appearance to them. And they're very elegant in build, but simple as well. There's not much fanfare to them. They're just basic, but look like very well-made bows. There are arrows. And very much like what Cal had mentioned before, each and every single arrow has the feathers, bright red feathers at the end.
Yeah.
Yep. They all have the red feathers at the end of them. And there are a few swords, not many, because clearly this is not something that they're creating in their own. This must be something they've gained from trade in the past, as well as a few daggers that are sort of tucked onto a side table underneath the few swords that are there. The swords, basic swords, nothing fancy, nothing wonderful. You can only assume that anything that is of a greater nature must be in the possession of one of the Elseed of the Grove.
Okay. I will probably get myself some swords because I need something a little bit more personal than the hand axes, which I normally throw.
All right. So there is the option of a long sword and two short swords.
I will probably end up getting the longsword.
All right.
And
And go ahead.
yeah, and I was gonna think about Zira and Slain in the moment. Would I see like the short swords that are there? Are they? Can I tell if they're probably better in quality than the ones that Zira have? Okay.
They're about on par. There's nothing remarkable about them. They're just straightforward.
Okay. I will try and see if he'll allow me to get a bow and some arrows, and that's gonna be for Slain.
Okay. He will agree to the bow and arrows for Slain. In fact, he'll pull out a quiver from one of the side panel bookshelves and make sure that it is a full quiver with these red-tipped arrows. And, he'll actually look at the bows himself. He is a larger fellow. Perhaps we should make sure that we go more with a longbow for him. It might get better results. So let us use this one. And then he's going to place a hand on your shoulder. And while I agree that yes, one of the swords would be a wise idea, I think there is something that's a better fit for you as well. If you would give me just a moment.
Sure.
And he'll look at you too. And I think I have something for you too. Let me first take care of Javain, and then from what I've seen about you, we come into things come to us, and we hang on to them. We know when it is the right person, that is who should have it. We have had these in our possession for quite a while, for as long as I can remember at least. Something tells me these are here for you. For this very reason, perhaps. Or at least just to make sure they find their way to you. And he's going to walk past where all the spears and the bows and everything else are hung up on that one wall. And he actually goes over to what's basically this closet next to the bookshelf. And he opens up the door to it. And it's dark. You can't really see what he's grabbing. But Gervain, you see his hand reach in, and he pulls out this spear. And it's a spear unlike any you've ever seen before. From the base, it looks like it'd be a normal spear, but as it gets closer up to where he is gripping it, there is this odd, thick knot in the center. If you had to be pressed to describe it, it almost looks like a petrified human heart. And it tapers back into a very sharp, pointed spear tip. And you can tell it's very well made. It's got some heft by the way he's holding it, and he actually turns around and he holds it so it's just in the one palm of his hand, and you see that the spear just automatically balances itself. It's been so well made. It's one of those things where if you're going to use this, it's going to hold true for you. And he'll walk it over to you. This is something that my father came across just outside the wood. It was with the body of a dead warrior, or so the legend goes. It is something where none of us have ever really had the need for it, but from what we can tell, it is rather special. A few times it has been used. I have a feeling it'll get more use in your hands than in mine, or anyone else, quite frankly. It has connections to the other world, and he'll look at little Czar as he says this, where perhaps in your hands, you might be able to use its powers better.
All right.
And he has just handed you, I'm going to add this here to your list. All right, so it should be in your journal now. He's just handed you a spear of the stilled heart. And this is basically a spear that's been made from the wood of a rowan tree. And again, it has that odd knot where it looks like this petrified human heart. It deals an additional 1d6 necrotic damage on a successful hit. It also possesses 3 charges, in which it will do 2d6 in necrotic damage, and user will gain the same amount of temporary hit points on a successful hit. When used, you must make a Constitution saving throw of 12. If unsuccessful, you become susceptible to light, And as a result, you start taking disadvantage on perception, insight, and investigation checks due to increased bloodlust. And you gain back these charges after a long rest, and you must attune to this item.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
he will pull this out to you and kind of quirk an eyebrow. It is yours if you so choose. It does have power to it.
I'm
Power I
gonna
think you might be able to use.
reach out and try and, honorably take it from him. So, like, gently reach my hands out to go grasp it.
Okay.
After grasping it, I'm gonna try and find the balance of it as well. And then once I do, I'm gonna bounce it in the air really quickly and grab it and start going to a flourish to find like the balance and how it like moves through the air, and kind of finish in like a spear stance. And I'm gonna look over to Little Czar and kind of just say, "What do you think, buddy? What do you? Does it look good?"
Little Czar will sort of do that deep growl that he has now. It's his purr, but it's deeper because of his size. And he kind of does that thing that all cats do and just sort of like bump his head against you, which kind of teeters you slightly, but he seems to approve.
Okay. And I'll rub under his ear, and and I think in that moment would take some time. You would see Ewell that I kind of get a little thoughtful. I think Gervain is thinking about the trials that he's gone through to be a ghost knight, and is going to take a moment to reflect.
Okay. And Fidium has been watching you. And it's almost like he's lost himself for a little bit, seeing you're using this spear and twirling it around, finding its balance, and his eyes sort of grow misty, like he's lost in thought for a little bit. And it isn't until he hears Little Czar's growl that he sort of shakes himself out of this stupor, and he'll look to you, AOL. You are one who likes to take things in and observe. You take notes. You make a point to get information.
It's habits from school.
They are certainly not bad habits. There is nothing wrong with taking in more than what others might. I myself am one to do the same. And he'll give you a smile. I have something here that I think will be of great use to you, especially when you're trying to maybe figure out more than what is out there. Yep, come this way. And he will lead you over to the bookshelf area, AOL. And you can see he's almost hesitant to start touching these items. It's almost like this quick back and forth dance for him. And you hear him heave this big sigh. Normally this is something Gypsophilia is better versed in, but I am sure she would agree with me on this one, and time is rather important at the moment. And you'll see him reach a hand up, and he's actually reaching towards the top shelf, something where really no one else but himself or others who have access to like a stepladder or some means of making themselves taller could reach with this shelf. And he pulls out this interesting star-shaped object. And it's got this almost iridescent look to it. And as he brings it down and turns it towards you, he's got it displayed out in both of his hands. And again, it's star-shaped, and you can tell it's made of river stones as well as the sinew of some sort of animal. But it is intricately made and very well made. And as he moves it, he's purposely doing this, you see that there is this shimmering light that catches over the stones and shifts in color and tone, and it's almost like this iridescence is hinting towards its own power. And this is something that, again, has been in my clan's possession for a very long time, and every so often it does come into the hands of one of our priestesses, and she'll put it to good use, but Gypsophilia was not so much connected to it as others were, and she sort of put it up on the top shelf to keep it safe. But I think in your case, you might find use for it. It is called Wound Through the Trees. It's not something my clan has made. It is more of a piney tradition, but it is a cherished artifact of the clan, and I think you may benefit from this. It actually lets you go invisible for a little bit. Sort of disappear, but still be there. You might find it quite handy in certain circumstances. It also sort of has a means of taking sight from those who are not expecting it. And he'll shift it again, so you see like this bright flash from the iridescence as well. So he's handing over to you something called Moon Through the Trees, and this is directly from the Tales of the Old Margreave book, and this is one of those things I locked onto. I thought was so cool. It also will require attunement. It has 6 polished river stones to make the shape of the 6-pointed star. And while you're within 20 feet of a living tree, you can use a bonus action to become invisible for a minute. While invisible, you can use bonus actions to become visible. If you do so, each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you must succeed a DC 15 con save or be blinded for 1 minute when you come back into visibility. Blinded creature can repeat this saving throughout the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on success. And if the creature's saving throw is successful, the effect ends it, then they sort of have immunity to it for the next 24 hours. But this is one of those things where you can disappear for a little bit, and coming back into view will actually be something of an advantageous action as well. So I'm going to put that into your journal right now.
Sweet.
For you.
AOL's gonna look. You said piney tradition.
Yes.
That's interesting.
There are many types in the Margreave.
Right. Yeah, I've been aware of piney for a while.
Well, then, this definitely is probably something that would be in your best interest to keep if you have an interest in their culture and their workings. I hope it proves useful. I hope both prove useful to each of you. And he'll look at the two of you, and you hear this rapid knock on the door, and he turns around to open it, and you see that there are these 4 gentlemen standing ready, and you can tell these must be the messengers he signaled for. And again, we'll sort of fade into darkness and fade back into Maurice and Zira standing there with Faye and Gypsophilia. And Faye has just made it very clear, there ain't no way in hell you're going to that shrine by yourself, boy. She's not having it. So, how would you like to handle that, Zira and Maurice?
Maurice, I think maybe you should just let this one go.
Oh, certainly. I'm not looking to cause a fight by any stretch. I'm merely trying to observe things from an objective standpoint, you understand?
I can understand objective, but you have to understand that you are asking to go onto holy ground for us. I am not about to let total strangers go up to what is the most holy of spots in our grove and risk something else happening to us because of it. I hope you can understand.
Oh, certainly. Please, lead the way.
Just one moment. And you'll see Faye sort of signal to one of the other young women, and up comes this, she's actually a little bit more petite, and she's got this lively glint to her brown eyes and these long blonde hair as she comes running over. And you will hear Faye say to her, Ula, just make sure that Gypsophilia has some place to rest. and she'll turn the well-being of Gypsophilia over to Ula. And Ula looks at the two of you, and she kind of has this hesitant smile. Like, you can tell she wants to say hi, how are you? But she's also just been given the responsibility of taking care of the priestess. So she takes Gypsophilia over to one of the shaded areas, and you see her get her settled. And Faye only turns her back once she sees that her mother is cared for to her standards. Right, well, if you follow me, just watch your footing. The stones are very old. Sometimes they can trip you up if you're not careful because of how smooth they've been worn. But they'll be happy to show you the shrine itself. And she'll start ambling over towards the set of stairs that have been built into the hillside up to the shrine. Do you follow?
Definitely.
Yep, follow.
All right, so as you go up these stairs, she wasn't kidding about how worn these stairs are. They're smooth and slightly slippery, it seems. So I need each of you to give me an athletics as you go up these stairs to make sure you're not stumbling and falling back down the hill.
Uh-oh. Would you say it was athletics? 7.
I got that one, so.
All right. So she quite adeptly starts prancing up these stairs. This is something she travels up often, many times a day probably. And she gets halfway up and she looks over her shoulder, and you see this sort of haughty smirk cross her face as she watches the two of you assume that, oh, you know, stairs are stairs. And immediately, Maurice, you take that first footing and your foot slips right out from underneath you. And you sort of take a tumble and land on your rear, your metallic rear, to a loud boom, alerting everyone that, yep, that first step did not go so well. Zira, you're able to get up a few steps, but hearing Maurice's you yourself get distracted and you stumble a little bit, but you don't fall. You're sort of just, you know, caught on this one step and you reposition yourself. Watch that first step. It's a doozy.
So I am seeing. We'll get up and try again, pretty much.
Yeah, let's do it again. So another athletics check from both of you.
14.
14, okay.
15.
Okay, so taking Faye's advice a little bit more to heart, the two of you are able to make your way up this switchback of stones, and you get to this temple area. And the temple itself, you can tell that it's something that has been there. This little shrine, it has been there for ages. It is made entirely of very thick, dense wood. And you see carved into this panel of wood that sits at the very back of this sort of altar, there is the wood carving of Holdus symbol. And it's covered and protected by this overhang of slate as a roof. And in the center of this altar, there is a small lantern that has this intensely glowing golden flame that seems to persist. And you see standing up there, sort of positioned off to the side, a young Alcide woman who just sort of nods at Faye and gives the two of you this sort of arched brow as she makes her way away from the shrine, giving the three of you some privacy.
Now, before this happens, almighty DM,
yeah,
I took augury as a spell option for a second level spell, not because I was looking to commune with my own gods, but because, as you know, Maurice happens to be a fan of lots of gods, and it seems to run into more and more and more of them. So essentially, if possible, what Maurice would like to try to do with that ability is start trying to reach out to these different deities that we are encountering, coming across, whatever have you. So now that can be done as a ritual, casting time of a minute. So if you are all right with this, so mighty DM, that is going to be Maurice's intent, is to try to find a way to find something inside him mechanically that will resonate with the energy of this shrine in an effort to attempt to use augury to try to speak to this god, or at least find one of these messages that he was told about by the priestess. Something.
Okay. Is this something you're going to let Faye know you are doing, or Zira for that matter? Or are you just going to start doing your Maurice thing?
I'd rather let Zira know than Faye.
Okay. I'm all for it. I think it is perfectly on brand for Maurice. Absolutely.
Excellent. So as we kind of get led into this, I would sort of lean over to Zira. Zira, I do not know if this will work, but I am trying to speak to their god, trying to find some of their messages that they told us about something. It will take me a little while. I will need some time if you can buy it for me, one way or another.
I can figure out how to buy time.
I knew you could. I will ask very few questions. I will speak very little. I need to concentrate to do this. Please do everything you can to stall, to allow us to be within this building as long as possible.
I can do that.
Maurice,
Okay.
give her a pat on the shoulder. Plant on.
So, you've just decided to dupe Faye. How are you going to do this, Zira? This chance to do the augury.
I'm just going to try to have a conversation with her at first. What kind of, do you guys do rituals here? What do you just come here to pray? What happens here?
Those are good questions. You give me a performance check, Zira, and Maurice, you give me a stealth.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
not a good stat. Maurice.
10. I have a -1 to performance.
Oh, Jesus.
No.
You got another nat one?
I got another nat one. That is 2 of them.
Yeah, you might want to put that dice in. I'm out. Well, they didn't do so hot either. She's gotten herself a 7. So, Zira, with your 10, she falters slightly, hearing Maurice something with that mechanical body of his, and she sort of looks over, but then your voice grabs her attention. You are lucky you rolled what you did. Maurice, very lucky. So Maurice, she notices you starting to do something, but Zira's questioning snaps her back to attention. It is a little bit of both, really. Here, let me show you. Please come up and I can better explain it, if you don't mind. And Zira, you're being led up closer to that altar, and she'll start explaining these things to you, how that flame is actually an eternal flame. And that is something that the priestess and the maidens are responsible for making sure is maintained, making sure it is glowing brightly and steadily. And they cycle through each and every day and night. Someone is always with that flame, which is why you saw the one leaving as she was coming up to the shrine itself. She will also say that the shrine itself has been there since really time memoriam of the grove, and that not much has changed about the shrine. They make sure that it is cared for, but the wood, even though it's made of wood, it has never rotted, it has never decayed. It has always kept its intricate things, and she'll keep going on and on and on about all this information. So Maurice, what is it you're doing when you were just almost caught, but thankfully for you, Zira managed to distract her enough?
Specifically, he would be trying to find some common shred of divine power, something he knows enough, and he's tuned to enough different gods that he can feel divinity, or at least some semblance of it, in its different forms. And although this is a god who is more than likely outside of the domains that he's familiar with. Gods are gods, magic is magic. So he's trying to find some of that and trying to almost like pick at a thread, see if he can literally pull a thread of this magic out of the air and then just follow it up and see if he can sense it, see if he can make contact, in hopes that he can get one of those same messages he was told about. Maybe some sign, some symbol, something.
All right, give me an Arcana check then before you start working your augury magic.
Okay. Okay. So may I use my... Oh, never mind. I'm already proficient with Arcana. I take that back. I was going to say... where is it? Arcana. Oof. That is only a... It's only a 9. I'm not doing so hot with these rolls today.
The rolls are not liking you today. With the 9, you're able to pick up that something about the shrine does hold this ancient magic, this ancient power connected to Holda. As to what it is specifically, you're not sure if it's the wood of which it's made, if you're not sure it's that lantern that's sitting in the middle with the flame burning brightly as you see Faye speaking to Zira and motioning to different things about it. The ground you're on definitely possesses this power which you seek. You just can't hone in exactly to what it is or where it is sourced from directly.
Okay.
Maybe if you fall and you're closer to it. I'm just kidding.
I love it.
Can I try a religion check?
You want to do religion? Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Try religion.
So,
See if maybe in your wanderings of trying to gather and collect more of these gods for your pantheist ways, perhaps Holda has somehow crossed your information system.
be a 17 for religion.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So you suddenly have this recollection of, in your passing through Zobek, there was a shrine to Holda there as well. And they too had similar types of ways of honoring her, especially this concept of hearth and fire in connection to Holda.
Is she and Zira right in front of the fire right now?
They're sort of standing not directly in front of the altar itself, more towards the side. So yes, you are able to see the flame from where you are.
Can Maurice put his hand in the fire?
Not where you're standing, no.
Damn. Okay. Maurice is gonna assume that that's what he's got to do to make contact, or the closest approximation thereof is he's got to put his hand in the fire, and he knows he's not going to get burned anyway, but symbolically, it's so reaching into the flame.
Okay.
He'll try to kind of mechanically stomp and saunter his way over and do it.
Okay. So, Maurice is going to need to do a sleight of hand. Faye is going to try and stop you. So let's give her a, I guess acrobatics, because she's got Zira in the way. Zira, you're going to anyway try to interfere with this. Faye trying to stop Maurice trying to touch the flame.
Is there any way I could try to distract her by falling again, or is she going to see that because he's so big, no matter what I do?
You'd really have to try and distract her because you're basically on a stone floor. He's clunking his way up and he's reaching towards something that she holds sacred and wants to protect. In fact, that's been her lifestyle.
Okay. Can I use my my channel divinity? I'm currently knowledge domain, so I can tap into a well of knowledge and choose a skill or proficiency. A skill or tool and gain proficiency with that. So I would like to see, he's got himself worked up into thinking that this is what he's got to do. So he would want to do it.
Okay.
Weirdest use of channel divinity ever. Let me see if I can stick my hand in a flavor.
But I like how you're flavoring it, so go for it. She got a 16. Okay. So rolling a 16 on her athletics check, just as you are about to reach this flame, you feel this sharp smack down on top of your hand, and this staff that she's actually been wearing across her back works its way out and smacks your hand down before it can touch the flame. And you see these piercing, flashing brown eyes and this look of absolute horror and anger staring back at you. What is it you think you are doing? No one is allowed to touch that flame ever. No one except the priestess or the maidens themselves.
I understand what you're saying. However, I am not a person. I am as much a constructed object as the brazier which holds the flame. I'm merely attempting to make contact with your god, not in any form of disrespect, but simply to ascertain that the power that you so revere and worship is still healthy and whole. What would you do, and how would you know, if the flame itself was in danger? If there was some weakness within it? If no one's allowed to touch it, I understand. No person may lay their hand in there. As I said, I am not a person. Let me do this for you.
We can touch the flame. We make sure the flame is tended to, myself, the other maidens, and the priestess. It is the others who are not allowed to touch it. You still fall into an other category, construct or not. She'll look to you, Zero. Do you trust this construct?
His tactics are weird, but I promise he means the best. And for weird times, you know, maybe taking a chance will help you.
All right, Maurice. With advantage because of Zira stepping in the way she did, and the dice being on your side with my 5, Faye is actually swayed by your words, Zira. She's looked into you and she feels, all right, maybe I will let this strange mechanical thing stick its hand in the fire. And so she'll lift the staff, but she's holding it at the ready. One wrong move, creature of metal, and I will make you a lantern myself.
If I do this incorrectly, I will help you make me into a lantern.
She kind of gets like a little quirk to her face, like a little smile, like she's trying to fight it.
He actually does this thing where he kind of does turn into a lantern, and like he gets all warm and red, and it's kind of cool.
All right. I'll have to see it later this evening then. Like she's actually kind of confused with it, like, you're telling me this, why? All right, so Maurice, go ahead and you can do your augury. You've managed to get Faye to back down.
Awesome. So then, by the wording of augury, essentially what would happen is using whatever religious ornament is necessary, employing some of their divining tool. I guess in this case, it'd be sticking my hand in the fire and trying to commune with the god. So the possible outcomes are weal for good results, woe for bad results, weal and woe for good or bad, or nothing for silence. And as much as I complain about this as a DM typically, Maurice would very slowly, carefully reach in and try to put his hand in the fire, and once it starts to heat up, he would just start speaking aloud. I am not one of yours, but I come to your place with respect. I have been invited by your people because their priestess is ill, because this grove is ill. I seek to amend both of these things if it is possible. I believe there is some sort of outside contaminant or contagion. If we were to look into the waters of this area in an effort to cleanse the place, how would we fare? and then he'll just quietly wait for some kind of sign or answer.
Okay. So both Zira and Faye have heard this, and you see Faye just sort of almost holding her breath, afraid to move, because she's recognized this is something, reaching out to a god. It's something she herself has done many times with Holda and honoring her. And the shrine area itself, it starts taking on this very heady feeling. You each can feel this shift in the air. It's almost as if someone has paused motion, as if everything's moving slightly slower, more quietly, more methodically. You could almost swear you hear the slow takeoff of a bird. Its wings not flapping as quickly. You hear the flap, flap, flap as the bird slowly takes flight into the air. You see your own motions slowed, almost blurred in this moment. And you see the flame itself, Marie, starts to grow more intense and brighter. And this is something only you would be seeing, having reached out. And you see it growing almost larger, as if it cannot be contained in the lantern itself. And as you look deep into this flame, you see this almost liquid element to the center of this flame. It looks almost as if something is flowing inside of it. And then just as quickly as you see this vision in the flame, you hear as the bird takes flight and flies off down towards the farmland area. And suddenly everything is falling back into the right time and place. The birdsong has picked up. The air feels light and crisp. And the moment has passed. You're muted, darling.
Maurice will slowly pull his hand out, but as he does, he's going to kind of keep his palm face up, more out of curiosity than anything, but just to see if any of the flame will come out with his hand as he slowly kind of pulls it out.
As you pull from the flame, it hugs your hand almost as if it were a handshake. And as the last finger pulls away from the flame, this almost rivulet-like drop of fire wends its way down your finger into your palm and evaporates in a puff of steam.
Maurice is going to very slowly kind of close his fist. We need to go to the water. Something is not as it should be. I do not know how your god feels about me, but they have decided to show me something. And I saw wetness in the flame, and the bird moved towards the farmland. I think the source of all of this problem is there.
You have heard from Hulda.
Not so much that I hear voices, kind of smile a little bit, but I have been shown.
Then it's best we get back. And she's looking at you with this almost like puzzlement, and you can tell she's trying to think this through. You should get back and let them know what has happened then. Be careful going back down the stairs. They can be just as treacherous going down as going up. Just watch your footing. And she'll start walking back down, and immediately as she turns her back to it, you see that young woman, Elsie, come back out from the tree line, and she goes to stand next to the shrine as the three of you make your way back down those natural stairs. And for the sake of time, You make your way back down into the farmland areas. You see that Gypsophilia has been sitting there. She actually begs that the three of you go back ahead to the longhouse. She's sure that Finium is going to want to speak to you after you've caught her up with what Maurice has seen. For Gervain and AOL, you have been in that longhouse and you have watched Finium very much take charge of the situation. This melodious, deep voice giving out orders, making sure each messenger knows that it is their job to get this important information towards those nearby villages, including Olchek village. He has made a point to make sure Olchek knows as well that something has shifted in the fabric of the forest itself. There are changes happening, it seems, everywhere, and if it hasn't happened to you yet, do make sure to keep an eye out type of situation. And as soon as that last messenger leaves, we have Faye leading Maurice and Zira back into the longhouse, where you see Gervain and AOL standing next to Finium, who has this very drawn and haggard look on his face at this point, having done everything he possibly could on his end and realizing there's not much left for him to do at this point. And when he sees the three of you come in, he'll look up at you expectantly, hoping that you have some more information to relay that might give them more direction.
What did you find out, Maurice? Anything at the shrine?
A little more than nothing. Less than something definitive. I communed with the god, and at the source of the holy flame I saw a wetness, and then a bird flew down this way towards the farmland. I suspect that there is some corruption, perhaps in the water table, perhaps in the lake. I do not know. Maybe a poison, maybe a plague, a curse. Your guess is as good as mine.
I think your guess is better than mine. I think it's the biggest hunch we've had so far, and it seems like your experience with the gods has at least led you to maybe finding a place for us to start looking.
Let us hope.
I believe Finium has sent out the messengers out to check on what's going on, what's going on with how Eowil has figured out that this might be more systemic than we originally thought. So, I think there's not much to do here in the Longhouse, and maybe we should go investigate what your hunch is.
So you think it could be a source in the water that is causing all of this trouble for us?
I believe so. Based on what I was shown, it seems to be the most likely cause. After all, what else is shared by everything in the valley besides the water? The air, perhaps, but were it the air, I think the birds would be dying.
And he's going to sort of take a hand and he's rubbing it over his face, and you see his brow is furrowed. It would make the most sense if this is something that is systematic, as you were saying. If something has gotten into the water, this could become serious rather quickly.
It
Yes,
is my
perhaps.
thinking. So
Yes, we should look into this further. Did you notice anything unusual traveling up here? Because you do follow the river to get here. I know Cal would have taken you in that direction. Rather than go up and over the mountains, it would have been a waste of time.
in truth, our voyage through the water was less than idyllic. It's not that we wrecked the boat so much as the water wrecked our boat on us. I remember very little of it. I walked through the waters and then came to on the shore sometime later. That is all I can say for sure.
So the river already tried to pull you into it? You're saying?
Yes, but I chalk that up to a little bit more of the forest being uncertain as to how to deal with me than anything. But I could be wrong.
Were there any other encounters with water besides that one that you all experienced or you've come across?
Maurice will turn to the others kind of inquisitively. Perhaps that creature that attacked us, was that from the body that came out of the water?
It seemed amphibian in its state. It seems like it was amphibian based. Do you know if the waters near the 5 druid statues normally rushes very quickly, or is it normally a more calm river?
I actually have not been down there in a while, but from what I remember, it was not something that was completely impassable. I mean, yes, it was stronger currents, but the Dead Druid Ruins is something where it has its stories and its lore.
That's the only other time I think we dealt with water that it seemed the current was very strong, to the point of being impassable if we didn't go over the bridge. So
It should not be to the point where it's completely impassable. No, that it is something to cross with caution, but impassable? No.
that's what we experienced. I mean, Eel was there, and the minute she touched the river, she almost got swept away.
His head will snap towards you, AOL. Is this true? You tried to cross the river and...
It was extremely strong. I didn't know if it was unusual there for the current to be that strong, but it was... I didn't go far.
Well, obviously, if you're still here. And again, you're going to see him. He's going to almost disengage completely from the conversation. And you can see that his mind is working, like he's struggling to pull up information. Any bit of information he has or can recollect. This is not my expertise. And he'll look to Faye. Has your mother even started training you in this aspect? And Faye just sort of shrugs her shoulders helplessly. She's mentioned that I need to know more about the ruins, but we have not been trained in it quite yet, or have been given the whole lore. We just know what the others know at this point. Perhaps it's time to ask Mother what the story is with the ruins, if she has more information through it. If something is in the water, if something is wrong with the water, and the water seems to be changing by the ruins, then perhaps we need to look to them more closely than we realize.
Is this downriver or upriver from Old Check?
It is on a different fork, but all the waters do feed into a common area.
Right. Do they come from a common area?
The waters will come up
Trying
the
to
mountain.
get a sense of the direction of flow here.
Yep. Well, you have the mountains. Basically, the mountains cut between the Margreave. So all sources of water stream down from the mountains and cut down, and they feed into one common river that runs alongside, sort of intersecting between Zobek and the Margreave. Once all the avenues filter into each other. So the branch that Olchek is on, would be, like if you look at my fingers, you'd have Olchek, and then you'd have the Grove, sort of. One's further, Olchek's further south, the Grove's a little bit further north up on its branch, but they do feed into the same river.
would any of us know, or Finium, if you know, we know that the rivers all come from the mountains, right? I think that's something that we might need to look at, but there might be something to at least to solve the problem locally for the moment.
Is there a water source near where that encounter was? Where they said that we were going to go investigate the second spot, right?
There is a smaller stream that feeds into Al's clearing, yes. It's the stream feeds into our lake. And then the lake feeds out further into the river where the druid stones are, and then that portion feeds into the main river itself. The water is all connected, yes, in some shape or form. It's why so many use it to get to and from various areas if they can of the Margreave.
Right.
Not everyone wants to hike through the forest. Some people try to bypass by using the waterways.
Maurice, was there a specific place your vision told you to look at first for these people?
Not really, no. The heart of the sacred flame showed a wetness, a liquid. And then the bird flew to the farm. It is all I have. Is there perhaps a well on the farm we should be looking for? Maybe some sort of water table, aquifer. My lack of familiarity with the area causes me to make so many guesses. I'm uncertain.
Finium or Faye, if there is one point in your river or water system that if someone were to taint your water system, where would you look first? You folks know the layout of your territory better than we do. And maybe we can start looking where your water might be at its most vulnerable.
Well, if you want to really make sure that things have gone completely septic, you'd go right to the lake itself. That's where we get our main water supply. It's how we irrigate the fields. That's why we have the fields near the lake. We have various streams that stem from the crags of the mountain as it feeds down towards us. There is the smaller stream where the initial source was, yes. Probably best to go check there. See if maybe something can clue you into what's been going on.
Yeah, I'm thinking we check out that smaller stream, and Faye, would you like to join us? Is stuff that you can talk to your mother and then join us, but I feel like you would probably have a better mind for solving this problem.
You'll see Faye look to her father, and he kind of just nods his head. It's almost imperceptible. It's like they have this body language between each other to read each other well. And she'll nod toward you, Devane. I'll go with you, yes, that's not a problem. Yes, I'll take you to the area where we first noticed everything going wrong. I will be more than happy to do that. Perhaps we'll get more answers there. I'll tell you what I know of the ruins on the way there, and I can speak to Mother later this evening and see if there's more information I can provide you about them as well.
Yeah, why don't you, and if the rest of, I'll look towards the party, the rest of you are okay, maybe we give Faye the night to speak to her mother and take off first thing in the morning.
I have no objections. I would like, if possible, in the reading material you may have on your gods, I wish to become more informed.
We have limited writing materials, but I can share with you what we give to the children when they are first learning about Hulda. Much of it is
Please.
word of mouth. All right. And
You can tell me more.
she'll lead you over to like this, almost library-esque type section of the longhouse. And she's not kidding. She's handing you something that looks like would be given to children. But it's about Hulda and, everything about her in very basic, simplistic form. But you can tell it's sort of the starter's book to at least get more information. And she will, sort of look down at it. If you have questions regarding information you're getting, I can help you. The other maidens can help you. But at least to get you started for the evening.
Much appreciated, thank you.
And then you'll have Finium sort of look to all of you. I suppose you do want to be sure you get some rest, which I cannot blame you. Yours has been a long journey, and much has happened today. If you follow me, I have a room ready here in the longhouse where you are welcome to stay. And make yourselves comfortable for the night. We are about to sit down to dinner. We dine as a community. Perhaps you can join us if you'd like, or if you prefer, I can have someone bring the food to your room. And you can stay for the evening and recollect.
I don't know about everyone else, but I think I'd join you in your dinner.
Okay, so what would the rest of you like to do with this whole, do you want to stay in the room? And the room he shows you, it is in the longhouse. It's off towards the left-hand side. It's actually the door that is opposite the armory area where you and Aol were at your vein. And it's, sort of like a bunk bed setup. You could tell this actually must be a place where, if need be, a good number of people can hunker down for the night for defense purposes. But it's clean, it is serviceable, it's spacious enough where you're not on top of each other. But it's, basically an odd half dozen bunk beds lined up against the walls. And there is a window letting in some light. But the light is dimming, and you can tell that it is getting to be later in the evening, closer to supper time.
Do they leave any sort of, we're here at this place, and I am going to go to dinner with them. I guess I'll check in with the rest of the party. Do you folks want to have dinner with these people? I think it's good that we try and establish some sort of connection with them since we're working with them.
I agree.
I mean, I'm never going to turn down food.
Yeah. Are we, in this room by ourselves, too? Not... Okay.
Yep, Finium has given you some privacy. He's shown you the room. He sort of looked around. If anything you need, just let me know. I will provide, or one of us will make sure you get what you need. And he shuts the door, and you can hear him, you can hear his hooves making their way back out of the longhouse, actually.
Sorry. How's everyone feeling about this place? I feel like each... Yeah, the places we've been, each village, every little place is a little bit different. This one seems to be, lack of a better term, the most normal that we've been to. But no, and I'll look over to see if, they left us some sort of, change of clothes for the evening.
Okay. You will see that each of the beds have these beautifully woven, thick blankets folded into these nice, clean squares at the end of the bed. You have your pillows. You do have sort of these makeshift night shirts as well, tucked on top, folded on top of the pillow. In terms of different garb or anything like that, no, there's nothing really showing, here, be our guest, and we're going to put clothing on you type of situation. But it's definitely been made to be welcoming and comforting for your arrival. There is a carafe of water and cups, should any of you need a drink of water or anything like that. It's just a comfortable, simple room with
Sweet.
basic needs addressed.
Airbnb 5 stars.
There you go.
Yeah, anything else? I'll get washed up or prepared for dinner.
Okay.
I'll do the
Rest of you-
same.
Okay. Yeah, you have a little time before dinner would kick in and sort of refresh yourselves. If there's any equipment you want to leave behind, not necessarily your weapons, but if you want to like stash things here or there, you very easily could do that. There is space in this room to just sort of leave certain things here and there, and know it's going to be kept secure. And say like in about a half hour's time, you're able to make your way back out into the longhouse area, and you actually, Maurice and Zira, you see that young Elsteed woman with the long blonde hair and the big brown eyes. She's sort of standing there waiting for you. And again, there's this eager hesitancy about her. She's kind of like shifting from side to side, and you can hear her hooves kind of like clopping a little bit on the floor. And she's, sort of just looking for you to emerge from the room. And as soon as she sees all of you, she'll get a broad grin on her face. Yes, hello, I'm Mula, and my brother Cal, he was telling me all about you and of your journey and your adventure, and you're coming here. And if you're ready, I can take you down to where we are having dinner this evening. It's such a lovely evening. We thought we'd have it outside for welcoming you all here. And she'll sort of look at the four of you, and Cal did say you sometimes get quiet, so if you just want to follow me.
Yeah, we'll follow. I didn't actually know you said the two of them. They saw them, so I didn't know we were with them. But...
You all emerged out of the room, but Maurice and Zira would have recognized her from their experience, whereas Jervain and Ella would not. So you follow this young lady out the door, and unlike her brother, she is not stoic. She's not tight-lipped. She's actually sort of chattering away about how everyone's been eager to see who these new strangers might be, and hear of your stories, and don't take things personally if some people seem to want to snub you, but others are very excited to get to know some newcomers. And as she's saying this, she leads you down sort of the opposite direction of the farmland area, but not too far away from the longhouse itself. It's sort of this open area where there are these very old tables formed out of stone, actually, and these must have been here again for almost as long as the grove itself. You can see that the edges of the tables have been worn to a rounded edge, and you can even see like old nicks and marks from certain people staying in one spot of their own. And the community is basically gathered around, and it has almost a festival-like feeling to it. There are younger children running around and chasing each other, and the older adults are sort of gathered together at one of the tables and having their meal. And you can see it's sort of a buffet type of approach. There is this wider, longer table near a fire where there's a variety of different foods, as well as just some easy wooden plates to pick up and take your meal and find a place to sit and connect with others, chat with others if you so want to. There is a particular young man who's sort of sitting there playing this pan flute, so it's this very calm, soothing music going on. You can see tucked away under the trees, you do see Finium and Gypsophilia. She's actually got this very intricately woven shawl around her shoulders, and Finium keeps adjusting it just to make sure it is staying securely over her shoulders while she eats. He's definitely tending to her, making sure she has food and drink before he's taking care of himself. It's actually Faye who seems to be the one taking charge of this evening, directing people where to go, guiding people to certain areas if they come up to her with questions. And as soon as she sees the four of you come, she sort of will wave her hand and gesture to you to come over. But, there is laughter, there is chatter. Some people do seem to grow a little bit quiet as you walk past them, some of it out of just absolute awe because they've never been outside of the grove and seen anyone outside of their own kind. Some of it does seem to be more of a pregnant pause where they're waiting for you to go by them before they keep talking. One in particular being that young woman who had been up at the shrine, Maurice and Zira, the dark-haired one, who didn't really say anything to you but made herself scarce and then quickly came back once your back was turned to the shrine. So this is sort of the environment you have going on at the moment.
All right. I guess as we approach, can I, with the ones that have the pregnant pause and look at us as we walk by, can I tell if there's any like malice to it or any sort of like condescending kind of tone that they try and...
Yeah, give me an insight check on that one.
Okay.
See if you can read the crowd.
That's a 6. I think I'm just enthralled by all the festivities.
It's something that gives you pause as well, because suddenly it's quieter when you walk by, and you yourself have, every so often been in a situation where you walk past a group of people and they suddenly grow quiet at your presence. So it's something you're sensitive to, that you can't quite pinpoint as to why.
Okay.
I would like to go to Faye.
Okay.
We didn't mean any disrespect in the shrine. I know it was an odd situation. I just wanted to reassure you that.
All right. She'll actually startle a little bit, surprised that you've come up to her and have shared that with her, and you see her countenance soften slightly. I must ask for your forgiveness as well. I am tightly wound. My parents are trying their very best to keep this grove going and figure out what is happening. And every day I watch my mother grow weaker as she tries to save what she loves so dearly. I am protective of it and of them. I only want to help them and want to try and fix things. So yes, when your friend went to reach for the flame, my instinct was to protect that and to have my guard up, admittedly.
I can understand why. Your home and your mom are beautiful. We're going to do everything we can to help you save it.
I truly appreciate that, Zira, and I hope you can figure out what is going on. If this is something spreading out into the Margreave, I hope you figure it out for the Grove and for the others who might be affected as well. If you'll excuse
Now I
me,
have
Yes?
I have a very important question.
Yes?
Where's the dessert table?
She actually starts laughing. If you want the good stuff, you go to the very end of the table, but look underneath the tablecloth. There are a couple of extra treats up there. Otherwise, the children take both.
I'm going to hurry over. Thanks. Over my shoulder.
Awesome. So Zira, we see her scampering off to the very long end of the table, and there is sort of an extra tablecloth draped over to one side, as Faye had mentioned. So you'll find a couple of extra sweet treats. These sort of like little miniature mince pies tucked into a basket.
I'm going to hide it from the kids, not because they said to hide, like they were hiding it from the kids, but because I don't want to share. And then go find a place to sit.
All right, so sweet tooth taken care of. What would the other three of you be doing once you've reached this sort of community area and you're basically in the midst of the whole Carnelian clan?
I'm going to pull Ewell to the side. I know you were having trouble writing Little Zara earlier. So next time you hop on, either grab on some fur, he doesn't mind that. Or you can like grab onto my hips. And I try and explain it like, asking a girl to ride your Harley motorcycle with you, and you're like trying to place your hands and just like be stupid about it. I know that she knows this, but like Gervain is probably just being stupid, and he'll just try and explain that to Ewell, trying to look out. So, and get some food in the meantime.
So I don't think Ewell's actually ever ridden on anything before, so no, clueless.
I'm going to I'll call Little Czar over, and I will. I think for now, just have them play around with like the kids or like the kids around the area, and just try and let them have some fun. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've basically given these children who have never seen something like Little Czar before the ability to play with Little Czar. Yeah, you definitely have the LC children loving it and having fun with it, and they're even learning. Like, he likes to do this racing thing, so you see them racing off into the distance and coming back and forth, and you see some of the parents almost relieved that something is occupying the children, whereas others are kind of keeping a careful eye, but still sort of enjoying the fact that they're not babysitting right now.
Nailed it.
But yeah, you have that going for you now. Anything else you guys would be doing? Because you essentially have these different pockets of the people all sort of sitting and dining.
Maurice is going to be looking at that pamphlet, trying to glean as much information from it as he can. Children's rhymes are it's got a basis of truth to it, right?
Right.
So he'll just be doing that and kind of silently being very introspective as to what went down today, and especially the fact that while he theorized that contacting other gods is something that he could do, actually doing it for the first time is a big first for him. So he's wondering about the implications and potential future uses of that, and also kind of wondering if this means that Holda has chosen him or marked him in some way. So just very deep in thought.
Okay. So are you sort of finding your own little section to do this in, or still staying inside?
More
Or?
than
Okay.
inside for sure, but like Maurice doesn't need food, he doesn't need to eat or
Right.
drink, so he doesn't want to be in anybody's way. Maybe sit down somewhere, possibly near Gypsophilia, kind of read his pamphlet.
Okay. Actually, Gypsophilia probably would have seen you holding the pamphlet and sort of get an amused look on her face and gesture to you to come closer to her, like come to her direction, seeing that you're reading this.
Maurice will oblige.
So I see that you are learning about our Hilda, much like our wee one. A little bit. I heard that you had an interesting experience up at the shrine.
You could say that, yes. I reached into the flame, and I was shown a sign, as you would have said. It was very interesting.
Hulda has very interesting ways of making herself known when she wants to be known. Perhaps you can sit down next to me and we can discuss things further.
If you will have me, I would love to.
Clearly you are a person who is interested in many faiths and many gods. What's one more?
I know that line of thinking.
She sort of
Maurice
smiles
will
and yeah, she'll pat like the ground next to her. Sit down, then we can talk about this. At the very least, I can talk still.
Yeah, Maurice will pull up a little patch of ground and
Okay.
have a seat.
Right. And she will basically sit there and relay this information she has about Hulda, and you will get a little bit more information than what the little flyer has, and I'll give this to you as well, behind the scenes type of thing. I'm not going to tell you to turn the page right now, but it'll give you some more information to help you out with that. Gervain, are you still sort of watching little Czar dance around and play with the children and getting your meal going?
Oh yeah, I'm getting my grub on. That's definitely happening.
Awesome. And the kids are actually bringing you extras because they're having so much fun with Little Czar. They're kind of like sneaking things your way, knowing what the best dish is to have and which is the best fish and the best meat. They're kind of like giving you the royal treatment because they get to play with the big kitty. Aowa, what is it you would be doing at this point?
I think AOL is going to inquire after sending birds.
sending birds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Pigeons.
so looking like for homing pigeons. Who would you ask first for assistance with this?
I think I would ask Cal. So we've already built a bit
Okay.
of a rapport there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cal is there, and you can see he's chattering away with some of the younger men. He notices you right away, and actually he'll perk up and make his way over to you, so you don't have to make your way over to him. I heard you had a rather eventful day. Is everything all right?
Everything's fine. I'm just thinking.
Well, your thinking seems to have had some good leads. What are you thinking? Maybe I can help you.
Do you have pigeons that you folks ever send out for messages for further distances?
He gets this very broad grin on his face. Well, we have someone who will do that, yes. He is an interesting fellow. He kind of... Well, everybody has that crazy uncle, right? That one person in the family who isn't always quite right in the head or a little bit different than others. Does that make sense?
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
All right, then perhaps I should introduce you to Al. He is one of the elders, but he also likes to send out his little friends and see if anything comes back. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't come back. I don't know if he's ever actually gotten anything from it, but he's probably your best bet, quite frankly.
Okay.
And he'll motion you over to a more quiet area, and there's actually not too many others there, but there is this wizened older man sitting there. He is eating, and he is watching the children playing, and he has a broad grin on his face. And unlike the others, where the hair is blonde and red and brown and such, it's almost as though his hair has a slight green sheen to it, and his eyes are dark from this distance. You can see he has these very dark eyes, but also, just like Finium, he has a set of antlers with 12 points upon them. So this is someone who has been here for quite a while, and he doesn't give off this sense of being antisocial. It's more that he's an observer, and he takes in everything that's going around him, and others sort of just let him be his quiet, observant self. Every so often someone will say hi to him, and he'll wave hello and gesture to them, but this is definitely a man who has more of this hermit-like feeling or aura about him, just from looking on to him and seeing what's going on around him.
Okay. Excuse me.
Yes, what can I do for you, my dear? Hello? Oh, you're one of those newcomers, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, it's very nice to meet you. And he's gonna wipe his hands because he's been eating some sort of meat on the bone, and he's actually got a little bit of grease gathered on his mouth, and wiping his hands off, and he sticks out a hand, and there's a little bit of grease still left, but he's got this big grin on his face, and you can tell he's excited to start talking with you.
So I'll go ahead and take his hand.
Okay, and he grins. He goes, "It's very nice to meet you. My name is Alium. You can call me Al for short. Everybody calls me Al."
Okay. I'm AOL Galeth, but everyone just calls me AOL.
Wonderful. AOL and Al. I like it. Do sit down. Have you eaten yet? I mean, you're welcome to help yourself to what I have here on my plate. I mean, I always get more than I actually really need if you want. I mean, I've got some very good. They've got a nice fish this evening, and they've also gotten some nice. I think this is one of the chickens, from the hen house. You're welcome to that. And then there are some very good fruits and the vegetables too. You can get one of the children to get some desserts too if you want. They're always good to get the sweet stuff,
I think I'll grab a plate in a moment. I was talking to Cal, though. He said that you would be someone to talk to if I wanted to send out some letter birds.
Do you know about the messengers? Everyone makes
Yes.
fun of me for sending out my birds. I know it seems odd, but there's more out there in the world, and you'll never know what might come back to you.
Mhm.
I mean, what can I do for you? It's not an exact science on my end. Every so often I get the message back, but nothing really fully established and holding, because it's my own interest. No one else seems to do it, but perhaps I could be of service.
Do you get... Is it usually fairly reliable to send something to, say, the college in Zobek?
You want to get a message all the way to Zobek? Oh,
I think... Well, Zobek might be the easiest way to get a message to the person I'm trying to. They would have to forward it from there.
Right. We may have to kind of play a relay. I don't know if my birds can go that far.
Okay.
Furthest I've gotten has been to the Bluebell. Perhaps we send one of them to the Bluebell, and the Bluebell can send something along with one of the travelers.
How close is the Bluebell to Asuka?
Not really having been there, I couldn't say. I'd look at them. I don't know.
Maybe going off of, hold on. Okay. I guess this is a little bit more difficult, huh?
I mean, you basically come across a crazy old man who's got these pet birds he kind of just sends out in the world and see what happens.
A map would have been a smart thing once upon a time. I think it was a nice idea, but not knowing how far anything is from anything. I think I might have to abandon the idea I had. I was gonna see about sending a letter to my brother to see if he'd heard from any of his friends about stuff going on, because he has friends here in the forest.
Oh, well, if it's a matter of getting a message out, then, we have our messengers who go out like Cal does. Cal will go out and deliver messages to different villages and stuff, and, maybe the villagers can get the message further down.
Well,
Here's an idea.
The thing is, if we're roughly where I think we are, it would take more than a couple days, if I'm reckoning correctly, to get the messenger there and back for one specific person. I don't think that would be responsible.
All right. Well, hey, I tried to give you some help there. So, if you decide to change your mind, then we can test my pigeons and see if we can get them out a little bit further. I'm happy to help you out. You can help the chicken, too, if you want the chicken.
I appreciate the offer, but I'll figure something out.
Okay. And he'll just grin at you, like, just thrilled to bits that he's speaking to someone new. But you do get the sense that he's sort of this doddering, eccentric type of fellow. He does genuinely want to help you. It's just sort of beyond his means for what it is you're looking for. So it's up to you. Do you stay with him? Do you go back and sit down with Cal and his friends, or do you go and join one of your other companions?
I'm probably gonna grab some food and then go sit with Cal, because I might like him a little bit.
All right. So basically we have it where you're all sort of settling in, and you have Maurice speaking with Gypsophilia, and she is happily sharing what information she can with you, and questions to what you might have about Holda and traditions and everything, Maurice. And she's being very upfront with you. She's being very candid with you. She also, you can tell, is trying to make sure that someone else understands what she understands, because hearing what's going on, she wants to be sure that everything possible is shared so that nothing goes missed or unforgotten. She does make a point of saying to you, though, Maurice, I am sure that there is something going on with the water, and water is an important source for us all. But in my bones, I know that there is magic involved as well. And you and I both know that magic has its own way of working and taking its own avenues. So take everything into consideration of what you find. That is my best advice for you with your soon to take on venture for seeing what could be happening.
I will do my best. I agree with you on everything you said, and I have much to ponder based on our discussions of Hulda. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for asking and for listening.
Maurice will just kind of give her a bow.
Okay. And Zira, have you been eating all the mince pies?
Yeah, I'm eating the pie, kind of carrying it around. I think I'll go sit with Gervain.
Okay.
I was gonna actually.
I'm not sharing the pie.
I was gonna go, I'm gonna try and take some pie.
Not bad.
Hey, Zira, why don't you share a little bit of that? It looks like they're all gone. All the kids got after it after they're done playing with Czar. I don't think there's any left over. Hey,
I don't
come
know what
on.
you're talking about.
I even tried getting you swords today. Like that.
Swords aren't as good as sugar.
Oh, man. I'm gonna try and get my fork and, like, stab at the pie to, like, at least get, like, a bite in.
So, sleight of hand on your side, Gervain.
Yes.
And Zira, I will give you acrobatics or athletics, whichever is better for you.
Oh. 8.
A one.
Oh, I want to when he does that. If you'll let me, I want to take a scoop of my fork and put it in front of him, like I'm gonna let him bite it. And as soon as he like goes to bite it, I'm gonna rip it away and eat it.
Totally fine. If that's how you want to spin it, go for it.
So I try and bite, and I, like, miss it.
It is so good, Gervain. You don't even know what you're missing.
I'll remember this. Oh, I'm gonna remember this. And I will go and call little Czar. I'll beckon him over, and I'm going to jump on little Czar, and head off to bed, I guess. Just to be extra dramatic about it.
I'm just gonna giggle and keep eating.
Okay. And as you're eating, Faye's actually going to walk by you, and she kind of nudges your leg, and she very, like, surreptitiously holds out another basket that has a couple more of these pies in them.
I'm not telling Gervain, but I'm gonna take them.
Let's continue.
So we'll have it where basically the night starts wrapping itself up. The inhabitants, they start making their way back to their different areas where they live in the grove. You'll see Finium escort Gypsophilia back to the longhouse, and he'll nod to all of you, and she will, wave goodbye to each of you as they make their way back up. And you as well are able to go up at your leisure whenever you want to. Maurice, it's up to you if you want to stay inside the longhouse or if you can stay outside and sort of commune with the nature that is this area of Hulda. And night falls on the first day of your experience in the Grove of Eternal Autumn. And we're going to call it a night here and pick back up the next Sunday, where hopefully we have a few more of our players back with us. Find out what's been going on. Lane and Shreg are tall and small. But yes, you've come into the Grove and you've brought up some very interesting points that have gotten them thinking. They now have messengers out to the other villages to see if perhaps they're noticing anything different. Maybe something is going on with the water. maybe something is going on with the water that isn't necessarily just a simple contamination where someone has poisoned the wellspring. Maybe there's more to it and more magically inclined, as Ophelia has mentioned to Maurice. So you have a lot to sort of think over and figure out, but you are all more informed. You're all more aware of things going on around you, and we will see what happens next week when we rejoin them as they wake up for their second day in the Grove of Eternal Autumn with the Alcide clan of people. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. It is great, as always, to see the comments going through the chat. I liked how we have that quick comment about civil war over the path. If this is going to turn into a thing, I will crack up where they are hoarding pies from each other. Why not? Pies and desserts. So that being said, we're going to go back around opposite direction. Let's hear who you are and what you enjoyed about this evening and where we can find you. And Michael, you are up first as you hold up. Lovely. Hold up.
Okay, let's see. Yes, my name is Michael Sinclair II. I play Gervain. You can find me at Michael Crits on Twitter and Instagram. The projects I have, the only one I have right now is going to do some improv classes here in Spokane. So I'll be doing that. Maybe something else will come out of it in the future. The other project I have isn't nerd related. It's rock climbing related, and I'm trying to get better at rock climbing. I have some projects that I have to work on. So that's what I got going on.
That's actually pretty darn cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. And then moving over to our lovely AOL as played by Torn Pixie.
Hello, I'm Torn Pixie. You can find me at Torn Pixie Twitch. As far as keeping up with the things I'm doing, finding me on Twitter would be the best thing for that. Favorite part from tonight was Zira trying to distract so that Maurice can learn more about what's going on via the fire. I thought that was it was cute.
Yeah, that was a fun scene to have played out. Let's jump down now to Stonefly Kai.
Hey, I'm Stonefly Kai. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as that. The best place to see what I'm up to is on Twitter. And my favorite part tonight was the visualization. I can speak. I was doing so good. The image that Maurice got when the gods were kind of speaking to him, that was just beautiful, and I really enjoyed that. So
Lovely. I like getting thrown curveballs because I had no intention of delivering an omen.
it was pretty.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. Wonderful, wonderful. And finally wrapping it up for us tonight with our wonderfully talented players who I love playing with every Sunday, we have Jesse.
Hello.
Hello.
My favorite part is probably the pie war, I would have to say for sure. My name is Jesse. I'm at Jesse Neon on Twitter, and I'm really hoping to be able to put my first novel out like any day at this point. I'm just waiting on the cover art. So that's what I've got going on for projects. And then besides that, I've got a bunch of subclasses I'm going to be starting to put out on the DMs Guild because I'm looking to buff that portfolio coming into 2020.
Very cool. All right, so keep an eye out for stuff from Jesse. Definitely curious to see what you're doing with all those subclasses too. And I am the Muse. I was your DM for this evening. We've been playing a campaign inspired by the Tales of the Old Margreave. Do go and check it out. It is a fantastic set of books. I love the content in it. You can find me here every Sunday with these fantastic players. I am also over on Mini Terrain Domain every Thursday night as a player. You can join me there at 8:30 p.m. as we do the Dawnbringers, and we're doing Ghost of Saltmarsh right now. You can also find me over on Twitter, where I am sharing my current project of a build that I'm doing for Kobold Press, focusing on Zobek. So yes, some fun things are in the works for me as well. And again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I love every single time we get to sit down together, and I love it when you throw me curveballs and I have to think quickly outside of the freaking box and give you something to work with as well. So I love to see where it's all going. Everything keeps changing and shifting, and it is wonderful. So let's see what we do next week. And everyone, have a fantastic week. I hope you're doing well when we catch you again next time. And until then, take care, everybody, and bye-bye.
Bye.
See you later, Gator.